In this video, I'll uncover the best time to eat carbs while on the ketogenic diet. Are you a healthy individual? Are you struggling with, type 2 diabetes? All these things are taken into consideration, and typically finding like a good carb calculator for the ketogenic diet is going to really help you narrow this down, because you have to take into consideration things like physical activity. A lot of people will talk about having all your carbs in the morning because the idea is you're going to load up and then you just burn them off throughout the day. Well, that's really not how it works, and it's not really a good idea. First of all, putting all those carbs in the morning can activate your parasympathetic nervous system, make you a little bit tired, make you a little bit groggy. You may need more carbohydrates. Putting them right around your physical activity is not only going to help you feel energized throughout your workouts, but also what it's going to do is really just give you the fuel that is necessary. The ketogenic diet is an extraordinarily popular diet right now. So many people are losing weight, they're reversing health conditions, they're feeling better than they've ever felt in their life. Now, one of the things that you know about the ketogenic diet is that you eat very few carbs while on it. Now, the average person, of course, is eating like 300 grams of carbohydrates or more, where on the ketogenic diet, you're eating like 50 grams or less. So one of the top questions that many people ask me is when to eat your carbs while on the ketogenic diet. And so we want to discuss this topic of carbs, when to eat them, and of course, what to do if you feel that you just need more and more. So stick around to the end of this video so that you can get these answers. But before we get started, I'm Dr. Zyrowski, and welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, it's a pleasure to have you here. Be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification, and join our notification community. That way it can help you excel your health and your life. Let's go ahead and take a look at this issue. Now, one of the things that a lot of people will find is that they feel better when they're eating carbs. Okay, so let's say you start the ketogenic diet and then you're doing it and you're like, you know what, I don't feel that great. And then you eat carbs and you're like, wow, I just feel like my whole body's activated, energized, ready to go. So what do you do in this scenario? Well, do you eat more carbs? That's what a lot of people think that they need to turn to, is just eating more carbs. And that's going to be the answer. Or they say, well, the ketogenic diet is not right for me because I feel so good when I eat these carbs. But let's get to the root cause of what's truly happening here. Now, typically what is happening is a blood sugar instability problem. So is it hyperglycemia? Is it hypoglycemia? Sometimes it can be a combination of both. In many cases, it can be a little bit of hyperglycemia, but the main problem is hypoglycemia. And so some symptoms associated with this is going to be something like irritability, shakiness, dizziness, brain fog, and fatigue. Okay, so like I said, if you just feel like your brain literally just isn't even activated, and then you go and have some carbs and you feel great and energized, it's likely hypoglycemia. Now, there's a couple things to consider here too, because it's not just a blood sugar pattern that we're looking at here. Typically, this is associated with a chronic fatigue issue, a adrenal dysfunction issue. It's typically all wrapped up into this big confusing ball that is causing you to not get good results while on the ketogenic diet. So what I find with patients is that if they start intermittent fasting and they start getting hypoglycemic patterns, it's typically related to a chronic fatigue issue, an adrenal dysfunction issue. If they're starting the ketogenic diet, it's the same thing. So there's a couple things that you can do to combat this, okay? Now, one of the things that we can do is we can add in some B vitamins. These B vitamins are going to really help us combat stress. It's going to be very beneficial during this time. So add in those B vitamins. The other thing that you can do is add in adaptogenic herbs. Adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, rhodiola, those help as well. It's not only going to help with adrenal function, but it also is going to help combat stress, and it's going to help with those hypoglycemic patterns that you're facing. I've seen this work time and time again with patients who are having a problem with intermittent fasting and ketogenic diet, and getting these symptoms right here and getting that, just that overall energy instability. The other thing that you can add in is electrolytes, typically potassium. Adding in that potassium, getting that in at a high level, can really help combat this issue as well. So of course you want to add in all the electrolytes, the sodium, the magnesium, but potassium in particular I've seen to work very well with this issue. So add this in, and I'll put links in the description below to the stuff that we're using clinically in order to help combat this issue. Let's go ahead and talk about how much carbs we need on a daily basis. Okay, now we look at the standard ketogenic diet. We're going to be looking at about 70% fat, 25% protein, and 5% carbohydrates. Okay, this is the standard keto diet. This just means that in general, this is what most people can follow and do very well with. Now, there's a couple things to take into consideration. Okay, well, you hear 50 grams or less. Sometimes that works for people, sometimes it doesn't. Now, 50 grams or less is once again your generalized standard ketogenic diet that people are following and getting good results with. But some people who have insulin resistance, people who have a hard time getting in the state of ketosis, they got to drop it down to 20 grams of carbohydrates or less. Okay, so take that into consideration there. Once again, we don't want people to think that, first of all, they're not feeling well, so they need to eat more carbs. And then, of course, we don't want to just be eating so many carbs that we're not getting any results with the ketogenic diet at all. And then, of course, we have to modify accordingly, okay? When I say modify accordingly, it's just because based on you as an individual, your size, your physical activity throughout the day, all these things are going to take into consideration as to how many carbs you can have, right? I mean, are you a healthy individual? Are you struggling with, type 2 diabetes? All these things are taken into consideration. And typically finding like a good carb calculator for the ketogenic diet is going to really help you narrow this down, because you have to take into consideration things like physical activity. I can tell you that when I'm training for like a Spartan race, no doubt I can go and consume between 70 and 90 grams of carbohydrates per day, have no problem staying in the state of ketosis. And so we have to really modify accordingly. And of course, just, understand what our body needs. Now let's go ahead and talk about when to eat your carbs well in the ketogenic diet. Because it's like I said, this is a burning question that a lot of people have. So do you have them all in the morning? Now, the thing is that a lot of people will talk about having all your carbs in the morning because the idea is you're going to load up and then you just burn them off throughout the day. Well, that's really not how it works, and it's not really a good idea. There's a couple of reasons it's not a good idea. So first of all, putting all those carbs in the morning can activate your parasympathetic nervous system, make you a little bit tired, make you a little bit groggy. The other problem with it is that when you put all those carbs in the morning and you spike your insulin, you're spiking your insulin at the same time that your cortisol is typically peaked. Now your cortisol is going to peak. It's going to wake you up in the morning. When you combine cortisol and insulin together, it's really a good combination to go and store fat. And that's not something we're trying to do at this point. So that's another reason that we don't want to put them all in the morning as well. And so I typically tell people, don't focus on putting your carbs in the morning. As a matter of fact, if you're doing intermittent fasting, you're skipping breakfast, and this isn't even a concern for you. Many people following the ketogenic diet are doing intermittent fasting as well. So I wouldn't put them all in the morning. I think that's a really bad time to do it. Now, the next thing here is around physical activity, and this is a great thing. Now, there's something called targeted keto where you're pretty much going and adding in some more carbohydrates specifically around your workouts. I'm a big fan of this. So if you're trying to, put on muscle, if you're someone who is trying to, do long distance running, you're training for a particular race or something like that, you may need more carbohydrates. Putting them right around your physical activity is not only going to help you feel energized throughout your workouts, but also what it's going to do is really just give you the fuel that is necessary. So putting your carbs right around physical activity is a great thing. Now, the other thing too is we're going to talk about putting them in the afternoon. A lot of people will peak their physical activity sometime around afternoon. If that's you, that's a great time to go and add in those carbohydrates, okay? But here's the thing. Now, if you're going to put them in afternoon, if you're going to put them in nighttime, there's something that we want to consider here. Putting them in throughout the afternoon and nighttime, just kind of sprinkling them through that time is going to be a great way to go about this, okay? Specifically, if you're somebody who's getting in problems with insomnia at night, let's say you start following the ketogenic diet. I've had multiple patients have this problem. They report back to me, hey, I love the ketogenic diet, but I can't sleep at night. It's keeping me up. And so if you're someone who is having this issue, what you can do is add in the carbs at nighttime. It'll help with insomnia. So the best time to go and add your carbs in are going to be around physical activity. Sprinkle them in throughout the afternoon when typical physical activity peaks for people. Like let's say you have a very physically active job. So around the afternoon, and then of course nighttime as well. It's going to help combat problems with insomnia, but also just kind of putting them throughout the day and not trying to pile them all in the morning is going to be your best bet. Let me know in the comment section below when you put in your carbs. Give this video a thumbs up, and also be sure to check this video out. That's going to teach you everything you need to know about the ketogenic diet. When we are following the ketogenic diet and going into the state of ketosis, we're burning fat for energy, and is a very good quality energy source for our body.